of started our company because so many people were coming to us with questions about raw food, and we used to do a raw food feast in Austin every month, and actually we did 2 to 3 live events every month for almost 10 years. It was a long time. And what we noticed was that, kind of like Melissa was saying, a lot of the raw food recipe books that were available then were just so complicated. I'm looking at them and, you know, there's 50 ingredients per recipe, and 25 of them, I have no idea what it is. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know. Well, this is a coffee table book for sure. And so our model was just to use the KISS principle, keep it super simple, and learn once, do always, instead of most of the raw food sites. If you like entertainment value, go someplace else. If you'd like to just learn how to do stuff that's smooth and easy and, you know, a little bit boring, because the greatest successes are things that you learn once and do always. So success is really a measure of how much repetition you do something over and over again. And so, you know, if you're looking for some sort of magic bullet that's going to be different every week, and a 328-step course that if you mess up on step 67, you've got to go back and start again, there's other sites and other advocates for that. We don't do that. And I'd recommend, just as an activity for everyone, just drop the whole term raw. I rarely even use that anymore because we're working, most of the marketplaces we work with are completely outside the quote unquote raw food marketplace, because that market sector is so small and the people in it are
interesting.
Well, they're more opinionated about what works and what doesn't work.
There's a lot of judgment.
Well,
there's the whole what percentage raw are you, right?
Well, but there's this confusion. There's a confusion that a lot of people are identified with what their technology is. They think that this thing worked for me, so it must be somehow an absolute truth. Some things will work some of the time for some of the people, some geographies. Like, for example, if you try to eat watermelon and live on watermelon in Juneau, Alaska, you're going to be in deep, deep trouble, way, way fast. So, and also if for example, you try to live on straight green juice for months on end, I mean, well, that's going to be boring. Good luck with that. So drop the whole raw food thing and go back to what Melissa and I both agreed on, is that you know, if it's easy and it's decadent, then go for it. And if your raw food is less than easy and less than decadent, check in, find somebody that can show you how to do easy decadent. Because once you get in that groove, I'm in the kitchen maybe 15 minutes total every day, period. So, you know, I mean, and that's it. I mean, I rarely eat at restaurants, except we do have one raw food restaurant in Austin now that I really like. So we, for the first time in 10 years, we've eaten at a restaurant. And so somebody was, who was it? Oh, you were talking about going out with friends to eat. We go out with friends to restaurants, but I ain't gonna eat that stuff. See, most people are really confused. They think think things at restaurants or in grocery stores are food. That's a challenge because they ain't. You know, you walk in these big, we won't mention any names, we walk in these big superstores that are supposed to be the you know, be-all health food store, and you walk in and you're surrounded by these mountains of piles of stuff in bags, bottles, boxes. And there is no food in that. In fact, nutritional panels are like a warning sign. Like if you pick up an avocado, there's no nutritional panel on it because it's food. Same way with a tomato or an eggplant or whatever, a head of lettuce. If you pick up something with a nutritional panel, what that says is, if you are so foolish as to eat me, this is the stuff you're going to have to detoxify out of your body. So never ask me about nutritional panels or calories, because there's no differentiation between some pastry made out of, you know, lard and sugar and flour and water and an avocado. They may both have similar calorie contents, but how can you even compare those? So if you're having conversations about calories or nutritional panels, boot that out the window, because there's no information there. Now, our next version of labels we're coming out with on a few of our products that are combination products, we will have nutritional panels so that we're, you know, all good with all the powers that be.
More people will like you.
Well, I could care less. Yeah. If you're looking for somebody to like you, maybe the wrong place with me, because I'm pretty straight with what I say. So, you know, keep everything easy and decadent. Drop the whole raw food thing. Don't worry about if you're, oh, I ate something cooked or whatever. Who cares? If your body desires something, just eat it and notice what happens to your body, and do, I call it craving decoding, where you just break down, well, what's in this thing. If I'm craving, bagels and cream cheese, for example, that's one of the things. So when people go raw, they usually think that raw means they're going to eat lettuce and sweet fruit like oranges or apples or stuff. And how many people have tried that way? I did. How many days did you last? 2, 3, maybe. And then you find yourself blackout eating boxes of cereal, chips and hot sauce, East Indian food, bagels and cream cheese, donuts. So anything that's drying that will suck the water out of your body because your body's gotten waterlogged and warm you up. So instead of doing all that nonsense, just, check in with your body, see what you desire, and just eat it. And then afterwards, you can, break it down and decode what the components in that particular substance were most drawing. For example, if you have a pizza, well, if you took the cheese off it, would you still like it? If the answer is yes, well, you keep going. If you take the tomato sauce off, will you still like it? And look for the things that you'll find something that, oh, well, if I took the tomato sauce, I don't like that. Like I used to eat, what was it? Owen's country sausage. And I used to eat a lot of it. Guess what Owen country sausage has in it that you can't get anywhere else? Sage and black pepper. And I realized, oh, sage and black pepper, because if I took the sage and black pepper out, it's just, mystery cadaver. So, look for the components that if you took it out, then it's no good. And those are the components to focus on. When I was 2, I drank a bunch of gasoline. And, that's pretty tough. How many people have kids? You have kids? Okay. So imagine if your 2-year-old came staggering into your house and say, "Mama, I hurt," and you smelled gasoline on their breath. It was a tough 7 days. It took 7 days to where I was out of the woods. And so that was my experience. Luckily, there was no country doctor there that told my mom, well, the only hope is if he throws up, he's dead instantly. The only hope is to pour mineral oil. Do you have some mineral oil you're using for ligament on the horses, or for liniment on the horses, ligaments? And my mom said, yeah, I got some right here. Well, he said, start pouring it down him. I'll be over as quick as I can. And that was the only thing that saved me, was my mom and old Dr. Hass, the old country doctor that knew enough about animal husbandry, enough about animals to save me. So over the next 33 some odd years, it took me 33 years to get from barely above survival into thrival. And I'm guessing I'm probably in a much better space than I am today than I would have been if that never happened, because I would have never kept going through, okay, well, I got this far on, eating, other than there was a raw food. I just ate the way I ate. There was no raw food movement back then. There was no internet. There was nobody that knew jack about anything. I just had to figure it out. And so, like the guy that was talking about, you had colon cancer. So there was one point in time where I completely stopped eliminating and digesting. And that's about, 48 hours to sepsis, to death by blood poisoning. So I simply reasoned, well, if I have a problem with my digestive tract, I can't run bulk through there because it's going to rip and tear. So I just started juicing everything. There was no, I had never heard anything really about juicing that much. I just knew that I got to get rid of the fiber and get nutrition, or I'm going to be a goner. And it's got to be enough, nutrition and enough fluid to get through the blockages in my intestinal tract. And so a lot of what I learned was just seat of the pants, my divine inspiration, my angels keeping track of me and directing me the next place to go. And that turned into superfoods, or into raw foods, and then I met my wife and she was doing raw foods too. And we got to a plateau where we just topped out, didn't seem to be making any more progress. And then we went to superfoods. Then we topped out again, and then we went out into the world and looked for different supply chains of our own superfoods to create, just to see if we could go to another plateau. And maybe we'll find something else someday. I'm liking I'm good with my sensation right now, where my energy is. I operate at continuous peak most of the time, and that's good for me. So that's a little quick wrap up. And the products that we put in containers now are just, we used to give all these complex recipes to people, and they would try to go find stuff to make it and try to copy our recipes, and they would bring us stuff and say, well, what did I do wrong? It's like, well, I wouldn't eat that either. I don't know what you did, but we better go through this recipe step by step. So we started putting things in bags so that the process of creating superfoods was duplicatable. And that's kind of a real quick compressed version. Oh, okay, so here's a good rule of thumb. The nutritional value of, how do you figure out the nutritional value of X thing, whatever X thing is? Here's the easy test. The number of hours you forget to eat tells you how well you're nourished. That's all you require to know. So here's the trick. So I usually get hungry maybe around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And did I eat today? Yeah, I did eat today. I ate a solid meal today. So I always pack my food with me. And so if you, for example, wake up hungry, what you're doing, for me, or in reference to me, if I was doing that and I woke up hungry, I would say what I was doing ain't working for where I like to be. Because I like to be operating at a very, very high level for both my productive value of the day and also longevity. Because everybody knows the best longevity trick is caloric reduction. What was the old? It was probably almost 10 years ago now. They were doing a study with geriatric rats, and the study was they were doing caloric restriction down to 20% of what they usually fed the rats. So they were cutting it by 80%. So that made the rats' system more, they had faster uptake. So they'd feed them drugs and they'd uptake the drugs faster, and then they'd dissect them to see what the drugs did. What they didn't realize, or what was news to them, was that these geriatric rats that were around 80 years old in human years begin to regenerate their ovaries, have sex again, and babies again. So, interesting. So the best longevity technology you can do is to reduce what goes in your mouth. And the best way to do that is, it ain't by willpower. If it takes willpower, it ain't going to work. I don't care who you are. If it takes willpower,
and it's wrong.
It's wrong.
It just
ain't
means
going to work.
that you need
It's wrong.
something.
So my rule of thumb is do things that naturally flow into my day. And so what I encourage you to do is look for foods that nourish you to the point where you get hungry first time in the early afternoon. Like I usually get up in the morning and I'll drink water. Oh, it depends on what my day is. Like I've been getting up, I've been at open camp here in Dallas for the last couple of days, and so I've been getting up at 4:30 and doing work for myself up until the session started at 8:30. And then from 8:30 on to noon, I think we take our lunch break at noon, so I've usually been eating one small meal then. And so I've just been drinking Chocolate Bliss and water during that time. So look for the things that nourish you so you forget to eat, and as those numbers of hours that you forget to eat goes up, then that's how you know that what you're eating has nutritional value for you.